Hey guys, what's up? This is Mike Musiolo, HBS1 practitioner in Manhattan, New York City. I'm coming at you with another video. This is Sapiens. We're talking about the author Yuval Noah Harari and his book, which is about the human race. And what it is that when we talk about Yuval Noah Harari, we want to know who this person is, right? We don't want to just pick up books and not know anything about the person, right? So when we talk about Yuval Noah Harari, what he is he's an Israeli historian. And the reason why his work is so relevant is because he talks about history in regards to our biology. And history and biology and how we've evolved. He actually writes almost like an evolutionary biologist. It's very interesting, this book. So I'm going to break down some of the key takeaways, and hopefully we can intertwine some of the aspects of the tyranny of words, because this book, Sapiens, the tyranny of words, and the best that money can't buy, they're all intertwined in terms of their concepts. And I think I'm speaking primarily to the functional patterns community, but everybody is welcome to, to take away a lot of information from this video. I think that idea of that intertwining in communication and organization, all of those things go together. So that's why I wanted to break this down as well. So here's the deal. When we talk about Yuval Noah Harari, his work is extremely relevant because it talks about how we evolved, and we'll get into that. So now, why is Sapiens important? Why am I making this video? The reason is because Sapiens is about fundamental concepts and traits within our species regarding our biology, which is important because that's how we're made, and the way we communicate and organize. Okay? Now, I really highlighted communicate and organize here. And the reason that is because Jacque Fresco and the Tyranny of Words, Stuart Chase, they talk a lot about communication and organization. And that's important because a lot of our concepts of functional patterns are derived from those previous people, yeah? So we want to think about who we're listening to. So, fundamental, right? What are the fundamental traits of Homo sapiens when we're talking about our biology, yeah? We have to identify what they are. Specifically, we all have to agree, right? In the last video, I talked about this. It is only when two or more people agree on the same referent, right? The same thing, that minds meet. It is only when we agree on this stuff and everybody's on the same page that we can identify the traits, and then as Elon Musk says when he's talking about first principles, we work up from there. The reason why things are so fucked up all the time is because we keep working from the top down, and it's very important to work from the bottom up. So, talking about Homo sapiens, what are the qualities of the Homo sapiens? We have large brains, and we walk upright, okay? Those are two really fundamental traits. That's what we talk about all the time. No matter what, you'll pretty much always see a human walking on 2 feet for the most part. You'll see that they have a much larger brain than most mammals. That is right in front of me. If you try to tell me the opposite, then that's not possible, because that's what we see every day in our daily lives, okay? Now, the thing that Yuval Noah Harari talks about that's really interesting here is that a lot of times we're like, yeah, we have large brains, we walk upright, and we're amazing, and then that's it. But the thing is that these evolutionary traits have trade-offs, okay? So, for example, our large brains take up a lot of energy. They actually take up over 25% of our metabolism. That's a lot of energy, right? And that's at rest. So what happens is, because of that, we have a muscular atrophy. In comparison to most animals, we're weak, yeah? We're not really faster or stronger or anything than most mammals. And here's the thing too, Homo sapiens, he talks about this in the book, where there were other species in the genus Homo, right? Neanderthals and then others. He goes into many others. Neanderthals were the main other ones. Why did we end up taking the evolutionary food chain as opposed to Neanderthals? Why did that happen? Well, because we were smarter than them. That's probably it. Is that we were a lot smarter than them and could organize better, right? So having a large brain has a trade-off in muscular atrophy, but in the end, we won. And that has to do with how we communicate and organize. And the only reason I say it like that, somebody made a comment that said it was like, you know, book reviews for dummies. And I understand. I don't mean to sound condescending. But sometimes we behave in certain ways that don't hook up to our fundamental biology. And the only reason, once again, that I say it like that is because it's so important. It's very clear. If we don't behave in ways that respect natural laws, then we get screwed. That's what the tyranny of words talks about. It is only man that makes these verbal monsters in his head, and they can either be used for good or they can be used to fuck everything up. Okay? So, the other fundamental trait, walking upright, right? How does that relate to FP? Well, duh. We were made to walk, run, and throw. And then I was adding into the other video, socialize. And functional patterns community talks a lot about biomechanics and body language, right? So body language is a big part of how we function at functional patterns. We talk about that all the time. People respond to you differently, and therefore your social interactions change. Okay? This is what I wrote here. This is why FP is an extremely practical method, because it helps us address our evolutionary faults. That's an interesting thing, because we were talking about trade-offs here, right? So this freed our arms for throwing, tool creation and usage, and more sophisticated body language and gestures, but with walking upright, we have to support these large fucking cranial domes of ours, and so what do we end up with? Terrible posture, a lot of pain. Walking upright is hard. It's taken millions of years of evolution to get us to this point where we're walking upright. What FP is doing is speeding that along. It's helping everybody stand upright and function better at a faster rate. We are actually evolving faster because of FP, right? Because it's addressing what our evolutionary faults are. We have identified what we are, we identified what the fundamental traits are, we identified what we have evolved to do, and then we identify why we suck. And then we take care of it from there. It's very important to recognize that. It's a very logical way to work up from the bottom, okay? So, 100,000 years ago, I'm just jumping ahead here because I can't go through the whole book. There's key takeaways. 100,000 years ago, Sapiens went to the top of the food chain. Why? Why did that happen? Sapiens conquered the world above all to its unique language. We are made for social organization, guys, right? How does any community come together? It comes by communication and socializing. We can't get much done on our own. Humans are powerful. There are a lot of more animals in the animal kingdom that are way stronger, faster, better than us, in many ways physically. The reason why we're the top of the food chain is not, well, walking, running, and throwing definitely has something to do with that, but it's mostly because of teamwork, bro. Teamwork is what really gets it done. Socializing and being able to socialize efficiently and with confidence and with clarity is what makes humans powerful. It is because of the way we speak to one another, right? It's because, Neanderthals, not super smart, but they were big. They could hunt, they could do things individually. But Sapiens, what they would do is they would set up in, they would hunt in groups and then find ways to harness, lead a whole herd of prey into an area and then slaughter them from there, and then they'd have food for months. They were very smart in that manner, right? But the only way they could do that is because they could communicate so incredibly well. That's why it's important to think about. They weren't thinking in terms of, they were thinking in terms of myths and gods and stuff like that, but first and foremost, they were thinking logically about hunting and fulfilling their biological needs, and therefore their behavior became super efficient in that regard. And ours is going to keep moving in that direction as well, hopefully, right? That's why I'm making this video. So, when we talk about a unique language, the reason why it's unique is because this relates back to the tyranny of words so well, guys. So if you haven't read Sapiens, you haven't read Tyranny of Words, get on it, because you will see all of these fundamental things intertwine all the time. The Legend of Peugeot. I think it's Peugeot. I believe it's French. I'm not sure. It's a European car company, right? So when we talk about Peugeot, in the Tyranny of Words, we were talking about the divine, right? The divine. What comes to mind? The word is not the thing. The divine has no meaning as it stands on its own. If I say whiteboard marker, you know that this is a whiteboard marker. If I say the divine, what comes to mind? There is no objective measurement of what the divine can be. With Peugeot, what comes to mind when you think about that? Peugeot is a company. But the word is not the thing. So, is Peugeot all the cars in the company? No. Is Peugeot all the employees that work for the company? No. Is Peugeot, the CEO of the company? Is it the creator of the company? No. None of those things are what Peugeot are. Peugeot is nothing but a name on a piece of paper. And that's what corporations are. Corporations are our modern day myths and legends and gods, right? Think about how much control corporations have over our daily lives. They control everything, guys. If you don't know that or think that, well, I don't know what to tell you, right? So Peugeot as a corporate entity has no true objective way of being measured. That's what we're saying here. But there was a common saying a couple years ago that talked about corporations being people, and everybody laughed at it, right? That's what we were talking about, trusting words. Everybody's like, no, dude, corporations aren't people. Corporations are, we know that intuitively. That's just a piece of paper, right? So why do we do that? But why do we do that? So Yuval Noah Harari talks about this, and he's very smart. He goes, we use these imaginative realities in comparison to our objective realities, because Peugeot is not a part of our objective reality. And I truly believe that us not being able to organize most effectively on a mathematical, scientific level, dealing with our shared objective reality, is going to be the key to speeding that up. In order to stabilize socially complex constructs above 150 people. We are the only species that can decide to meet on New Year's Eve underneath the globe in New York City in the hundreds of thousands, and decide to do that thanks to our unique language. Other species, other mammals, the second it goes over 150, everything falls apart. They can't do the hierarchies after that, right? And we can't to a certain extent either, but we're probably going to start moving away from that, because hierarchical organization may not be the best way. We haven't figured it out just yet, but we'll get into that. But the fact of the matter is, we are able to do that, and so those imaginative realities that we talked about in the tyranny of words are there for a reason. We do it for a reason. It just may not be as efficient as it can be. That's why we need to continually work from the bottom up. Okay? Now, yeah, that's why I said Sapiens are always blah, blah, blah. So, as long as a communal belief, right, in terms of a unique language, as long as everybody believes in a certain thing, then whatever this collective imagined reality that we have, whether it be the church, whatever religion, whether it be a corporation, whether it be, your family hierarchy or whatever, your family history, right? Whatever you feel about your history and honoring that, your family history, that governs your behavior. If my father's father all served in the war, then I might feel obligated to do the same thing. That's an imagined reality. I don't have to do that, but just that thought alone exerts tremendous force in the world, right? It rules everything. All right, cool. Sorry for the interruption, guys. We're moving right on. I was talking about how these words are imagined realities, have an effect on the world. So what we want to think about now, here we go. Why does it matter? It's very important, okay? The reason why it matters that we think about this type of stuff and how we go about it, and the reason why I built that from the bottom up, is because the survival and quality of our objective reality, right, is dependent on the forces of these imagined realities. So what he's saying is that using words like this can really pervert our survival behavior. It was not in Hitler's best interest to go on a psychotic rampage and cause a world war. Is that good for our shared objective reality? Is it good for humanity as a whole? I don't think so. No. I would say not. We have to be very careful with the type of words that we put into our heads, because it's what is going to depend on our continued evolution. Where are we going to move forward from there, right? It's very, very important, okay? We have to recognize collectively. We're always talking about individualism when it comes to society, especially when it comes to America. We talk about individualism, we talk about nationalism. I know a lot of guys don't like it when we talk about that in the functional patterns community, but the reason we talk about it because it affects our biology exactly in that manner. It affects our biology, fundamental biology, in that way, because the way that we think about the world collectively is going to affect how we behave, right? Jacque Fresco talks a lot about behaviorism. It's extremely important to think about that. So here's the thing, we're more alike than we are different in terms of our biology. Fundamental biology! We are much more alike. So all of us thinking differently and worshiping individualism doesn't make much sense. It really doesn't. If we all want to flourish and we all want to independently have happiness, then the common good of man is the way to boost that, okay? So here's the big question. So Mike, if we don't rely on these hierarchical imagined realities in order to organize ourselves, how do we do it? We do it by, well, so I don't have the solution at this moment, but that's when it's going to come into the next video, and that's going to be Jacque Fresco and his book, The Best That Money Can't Buy. Okay? I have a couple highlights of him on my Instagram. The Functional Patterns community talks about him all the time. We're always sharing his videos. You can look up his stuff on YouTube. Definitely educate yourself about that. I'll be going into that more. I don't have as much time today, but The Best That Money Can't Buy and Jacque Fresco, he is the one that gives us kind of the floor plan, the layout of what we can do in the future in order to make that better. He's passed away now, but some of his stuff that they've been working on with the Venus Project, they're trying to solve these big problems. And once again, we can only solve it if we realize that we have to get on the same page. Okay, guys? So thanks so much for watching this video, y'all. I think that it's all extremely important stuff. I hope that you can see how it relates with the tyranny of words. We'll be going into The Best That Money Can't Buy. These 3 volumes, read them, check it out. Check out more functional patterns, okay? Follow functional patterns on Instagram, and anybody with an FP handle, go ahead and find a practitioner near you, and you'll see how this all relates to your biology. Thanks so much.